I thought it would be really helpful to run through with you the things that I look at and the things that I did and how I worked on myself. There was so much personal development that went into me having this control over my time, me learning to do less in my day-to-day and bring joy and fulfillment into my business and really build my business around my life the way I wanted it to. There was so much in my mind that I had to work through in order to be able to do that. And what's fascinating is the more focused I have become, the less that I do, the more joy and the more I lend to flow and the more that I trust myself, the more I make. That is what I find so fascinating. It's so counterintuitive, right? We think like we got to work hard. We got to do all these things. We can't miss out on any opportunity. We can never say no. We spread ourselves so thin because in our mind, the harder we work, the more money we make. But it's the opposite.
Hey, you leader, entrepreneur, business owner, solopreneur, whatever you call yourself, we know you're a visionary business builder, wealth seeker looking to combine a passion for doing good with leading consciously. It's time to shift from a traditional focus of pure wealth accumulation to one that integrates well-being and fulfillment. This is the Conscious Edge podcast, and I'm Alecia St. Germain, entrepreneur and coach. Along with my friend and wellness advocate, Jonathan Duggar, we're diving into what it means to embody radical self-acceptance while still evolving to lead with compassion and kindness. We're sharing our own experiences and expertise as we unpack imposter syndrome, perfectionism, procrastination, and all the other things that lead to burnout and keep you from experiencing pure joy, business growth, and maximum impact. This is a safe and supportive space to explore what it means to be a human creating wealth and building a business. You're here for a purpose, and it's time to shine your light. So here we go.
Welcome back to the Conscious Edge podcast. I am your host, Alecia St. Germain, and I am so excited that you're here today. If you are just joining us, I want to say welcome. And if you are someone who has been listening for a while, I want to thank you so much. This has been such an incredible journey and something that brings me joy every single week that I get to come to you. And I especially love getting to do this with one of my best friends in the whole world, Jonathan Duggar. He is still away for now, and I cannot wait for him to get back because, first of all, I've always loved the idea of doing a podcast because for me, speaking comes so easy for me. It feels very natural. When I have to sit down and write an email or write some type of post or content, it just takes me longer for whatever reason. So I love this format. I love being able to chat with you every single week. And I miss my pal. So I'm really excited for him to get back soon. But for now, one of the things that we've been talking about a lot in the Exponential Entrepreneur is what is it that really causes people to get to that point where they feel like they need some sort of support or coaching. And so what's happening or what's going on in their life? And one of the things as I looked out across all of my clients over all the years is there's this thing that happens when they hit a certain level of success. Even though they might not feel successful, like they're doing what it is that they intended to do. They set out on a course for their business and they have achieved a certain level where their business is producing income for them. And it even is more stabilized. They know this is the thing they're going to be doing. And what is the most surprising to them is that they don't have the freedom and that joy and satisfaction and fulfillment that they thought that they would. So they like what they're doing, but it's like something's amiss for them personally. And they thought once they had achieved that business goal, that everything would be different, right? And so what it comes down to for many people as we talked about last week, is like they thought they would have so much more time to do the things that they really enjoy. And if you listen to last week's episode, what you might realize is that it's how we choose to spend our time, what we choose to do with our time, and why we're doing it that really lends to whether or not we feel fulfilled, joyful, excited about our business. There's this place in business where it doesn't always feel great. It doesn't feel like your passion. It doesn't feel like the thing you want to keep doing. And you even might question at a moment, like, I don't know if I want to stay on this roller coaster. And then behind that thought, when you know you're really on purpose, is this, and I've been there, is this like, yeah, but what else would I do? So I was thinking about what would be supportive for you today. And it reminded me of where my coaching journey started. And so I used to train real estate investing. I had invested in mobile homes that I was self-managing to make sure that I got my payments every month. So I sold those on notes. And I was training how to wholesale online at night through another company. Another organization had contracted me as the investor expert to come in and train. And I had just had my daughter within the year. And so it was like I was training from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. so that Pacific time people could have it at like a reasonable, so everybody could do it after work, right? So I was training at 9 to midnight, 10 to 1. And when I didn't have kids, it was just my husband and I, it wasn't a big deal. But I also ended up, my daughter was not a great sleeper. She was not a great sleeper for at least the first, I want to say 5 years of her life. She vacillated between night terrors and nightmares. And so I was up several times a night for 5 years. And that's like really hard on your body. But I remember this one instance. I was training 10 to midnight. She was young. She was probably, I can't put my finger on it, but maybe under 2.5, something like that. And she had had a night terror. And the interesting thing about night terrors, if your children have ever had them, don't know, or you don't know, they are fascinating because they look awake. And they, like, she could do math. Like, we'd be like, what's 2 + 2? And she'd be like, 4. And like, she would seem so awake, but she would just be crying and crying and crying and crying. And it would go on for like 45 minutes. Now, night terrors aren't supposed to last more than like a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes. That's like a long one. This would be 45 minutes of her crying. And we're thinking like, we're thinking she's awake and having some kind of tantrum. But like, she didn't want to be held. She didn't want whatever. And so I'm down here and I'm training online. And I am the kind of person, like, it doesn't matter how bad I feel, what is going on. There are very few things that will ever keep me from getting into a room where I get to speak and coach and train and like pour into people. I'm an extrovert. I get energy from it. It brings me joy. I'm on purpose. Like, there's nothing in the world that ever makes me not want to show up for that kind of give. However, I'm doing it at night, which is not my ideal time to be working. And now I'm a newer mom and I've got this baby who is crying upstairs. My husband is perfectly capable. He's an amazing dad, like there for our kids, present dad, helpful, supportive of me. Could not ask for a better man. So he's totally capable of being up there and handling this, but I've got to listen to my baby screaming and nobody else can hear it, but I can hear it and I'm aware of it. And it was like in that moment that I realized like I have all of these great things going on in my world, but I don't feel in control of my time. I feel like I've got to show up somewhere because someone told me I have to. And I didn't want my income to dictate when I have to show up places. I wanted my income to be able to work around my schedule, which ultimately, I think for so many business owners is what you want. It's what you're looking for, is to have that flexibility with your time, that you get to work as hard or as little as you want to. Now, that's not saying like, oh, just because I own a business, I have the right or entitlement to make money. It is work. It is hard work, but it's work that brings me joy and I feel like I want to show up to do, and I feel very fulfilled by it. And so I don't know that for entrepreneurs, they often have that expectation. They want that from their business, but they don't always get that. And it was a whole entire process for me to go through and take control of my time truly, even though I had my own business and I was working with other people as a contractor, I still didn't feel like I was controlling my time. And that had to do with my own belief systems about what I was capable of, what I thought I had to do, how I thought I had to show up, who I thought I had to be. And so I went through this whole transformation. And even still today, this is the time of year that I normally go through my year and I think about what worked, about what I chose to do and what didn't work, and what do I want to change or do differently going forward so that I can keep getting better at how I control my time. And so I thought it would be really helpful to run through with you the things that I look at and the things that I did and how I worked on myself. There was so much personal development that went into me having this control over my time, me learning to do less in my day-to-day and bring joy and fulfillment into my business and really build my business around my life the way I wanted it to. There was so much in my mind that I had to work through in order to be able to do that. And what's fascinating is the more focused I have become, the less that I do, the more joy and the more I lend to flow and the more that I trust myself, the more I make. That is what I find so fascinating. It's so counterintuitive, right? We think like we got to work hard. We got to do all these things. We can't miss out on any opportunity. We can never say no. We spread ourselves so thin because in our mind, the harder we work, the more money we make. But it's the opposite. It's the opposite. The more focused you are, the more you let it be easy, the more you let go of what other people think, the more you trust yourself. It doesn't mean you don't use business principles. It's not like, oh, I just get to make money because I'm operating this way. I still have to use good, sound business practices and put that framework around my way of being. But it's fascinating to me that it's not working harder like we all thought that makes more money and amplifies and makes your money grow faster. It's the opposite. So one of the very first things that I went through at that time in my life was I looked specifically at who did I want to spend my time with? Because what I realized in that moment is I wanted to be upstairs with my family, just supporting and, getting through that process of our child screaming. And I didn't want to be training. Like the first time in my life that I didn't want to be doing something that felt like it was so wholly part of me. And that began my transition into full-time coaching in a different capacity than I was, that not teaching the strategy anymore was realizing that that wasn't what I wanted to do. And so, number one, get really clear on who are the most important people in your life. Because if there's anything I've realized about this life, and I've known this for a long time, and I've said this, but I really get this in my bones. You can be in the worst place in the world with the best people, and you will laugh your head off, and you will have so much fun in the muck, in whatever it is that you're doing. You will giggle, and it will be the most memorable, joyful moment of your life. Or you can be in the best place in the world, but be by yourself and feel lonely, and it won't have the magic. The people are what make this life magical. The connections that you have, the lives that you touch, the relationships that you build. I think that's a really big part of life. And so I went through who I spend my time with. And I thought about, who do I want to have more of in my life? Who am I giving my time to? And what do I want that time to look like with them? So we went through, like, who did we want to see? Like, my husband and I took time at one point, and we actually got a babysitter and like locked ourselves away in and talked about, who do we want to spend time with? What do we want that time to look like? How do we show up our best for those people? And here was my criteria, was like, if this person showed up to me on their worst day, and they were not capable of like giving me what I need, but like they were just having their worst day, could I love them unconditionally? And if I couldn't love them unconditionally, I had to figure out like how to do that. So essentially, the people who are in my life at this point, if you are on your worst day and you are having the hardest time, I still love you. And you don't have to show up in any specific way. You don't owe me anything, and I'm still going to love you. And that moment where I could no longer unconditionally love someone, like I needed something from them, or I couldn't get something from them, that my need wasn't being met, or I was feeling like boundaries were being crossed, or whatever it was, I let those relationships go. And I wasn't like, oh, you know what? We can't be friends anymore or anything like that. I just didn't put the effort in because I had so many things on my plate that I wanted to do, so many goals I wanted to accomplish, a certain life I wanted to have, that if I am spending time with superficial relationships that weren't deeply filling me up, and that I felt the other person wasn't getting filled up from either, I can't give my time to everyone in that way. I didn't say we can't be friends anymore. I just didn't put the effort in. One of the things that I know is, like, I'll run into someone in the store and it'll be like, oh, we never get together anymore. And I miss you. And let's get together. And then you never do it. Like, to me, those are just niceties. And so what I really realized was, when I would run into people and they'd be like, oh, I miss you. And I'd be like, I've been here. Like, you can call me. We can set something up. I will say yes if I can. But that doesn't happen to so many relationships in our life. And I'm really committed to having these deep, meaningful relationships with people. So taking that time to think about, who do you actually miss and want in your life? And what relationships do you really want to foster? These can be personal relationships, or these can be even business relationships. There are business relationships where you're like, you know what? It would be good for my business to have this person in my life. But also for me, I will not pursue a relationship because it's good for me unless it's an authentic connection. Like, I have no interest in using someone to get to the next level in my business. Like, if I want to be your friend, if you've been with me for a while, if you're new here, like some of the past episodes, you'll find that if I want to be your friend, it doesn't matter who you are, I am all in, and I am going to love on you and be good to you, and we're going to hang out and we're going to be best buds. I will give you my all. And so I'm, even at a business level, I just think like life is too short to do business with people you don't like. Life is too short to do business with people you don't enjoy being around. There are so many humans in the world that I really love to do business with people that I genuinely, authentically have respect. Like, we might not need to hang out and like go get coffee or anything, but I'm going to respect you as a person. I'm going to appreciate your business ethics. If I get a whiff that your ethics are off, I'm not keeping that relationship. If I can't trust you, we're not keeping that relationship. So I'm very specific about who I choose in my business as well. And so what that means is everywhere I go in my life, my business, my personal life, the relationships that I have with people are because I legitimately, unconditionally love, respect you, appreciate you. And otherwise, I don't keep up with those relationships. I used to feel really bad about it because I had a belief like if everyone didn't like me, I wouldn't be okay. And so one of the things I had to really process through was it is okay for people not to like you. It is, you will not have, like, bad things will not happen just because someone doesn't like you. Even if someone says mean things about you behind your back or spreads rumors about you, my goal is to just be the best person I can be and make sure that I'm acting in accordance with my values and being good to people. And if I am that person, then anything that is said about me behind my back, anything that, and what's so funny is like people aren't even talking about you. Like we think people aren't talking about me. I think that they are, but they're not. Like we think that people go say these mean things. And if they are, it really speaks more about them. And I know this is a big concern for people in businesses. Like you worry about your reputation being ruined. You cannot people please your way through a good reputation. You get a good reputation because people know that what you say is what you mean, that you're not hiding information, that you're not. Here's the thing about people pleasers. Like if you walk around your life trying to make everyone happy, you're not really trustworthy because I don't know when you say that you like me or you want to do business with me or you want to have lunch or you enjoy my time. I don't actually know if that's true. Like if you're someone who comes to me and complains about someone else, but then you like hang out with them and spend time with them and do business with them, I'm pretty much thinking you're going to do the same thing to me. You're going to tell me what I want to hear, and then you're going to go talk about me behind my back. So you have to be really careful, like people pleasers, if that's your way of trying to make everyone happy, you're degrading trust with the people that you actually do like. Because you're not acting, your actions are not in integrity with what you think and feel. And so there's a misalignment there. And being someone who was a people pleaser, I didn't realize that about myself. And once I realized like, oh, me being a people pleaser, not speaking my truth, keeping friendships that felt very superficial and telling people what they want to hear made me less trustworthy, which is a big core value of mine, is being truthful, being authentic. The fact that that was inauthentic is a really hard thing to realize, but it made it so much easier for me to be okay with what people thought of me. So when you're worried about like, oh, I don't want to displease this person and I don't want to do, I have to keep them happy, even though I don't maybe agree with them, like them, whatever, that is what someone else says about you says more about them and their reputation than it does you. And anybody that would be attracted to anything someone is saying about you or anything bad that's coming out, anybody who would be attracted to that, those aren't your people either. So it kind of just clears the table when you think about, so like when I listen to someone who maybe has an opinion or a judgment of someone that, maybe we both mutually know, if that has not been my direct experience, I might be like looking for like, oh, geez, where did this person come up with this? Or like, how did this angle, how is this their perspective of this person that maybe I respect or like? And can I see it from their angle? So I'm always looking at how I can see it from someone else's angle, but I'm always going to arrive at my own conclusion of someone based on my experience with them, because I know that sometimes our perspectives and our experiences of people are created by our perspectives, by how we interpret things. So here's what I mean. I want to be really clear with this. So I was with my family this past weekend, and my sister's fiance, or I'm sorry, my sister's husband, he says to me, like, sometimes he has a hard time reading my face because he feels like I'm judging him. And the truth is, I think he's fantastic. I think he's great. I love the way he loves my sister and the way he takes care of her. I love their relationship. I'm so happy for them. And so my sister-in-law and my brother also were like, yeah, like sometimes your face is really hard to read, or you have like this very judgmental face that you have. And I'm thinking in my head, like, I'm not judging. Like, I don't have this inner monologue, but whatever is on my face, like maybe I'm thinking about something else, or here's the thing that's actually happening is they have fears. And we had this whole conversation. This is nothing I'm not saying like in front of or behind their backs or anything. We were sitting around a campfire and we're having this conversation. And I was like, okay, so maybe I'm thinking about something else that's frustrating me or whatever, or maybe that's just my face. But also, do you think that your concerns, your fears, your worries, your perception is translating what you think my face is saying? And so we had this whole experience. So our perspective, like how we show up in the world, what we worry about, what our fears are, will actually influence the way we interpret people's words. It will influence the way we interpret body language. It'll interpret facial expressions, things like that, that might actually have nothing to do with the conversation, because my brains at times will like wander into somewhere else land and be thinking about something totally different. So I'm very careful when someone comes to me with information, not to pass judgment on it, but to actually interpret it and think about like, okay, well, how can I see where this person's perspective would be coming from? And what might this person be believing that has caused this to be their experience of this person? And saying, really just being very curious and neutral in this whole process. If I haven't had that direct experience of someone, then I'm going to base my relationships on people based on my experience of them. And if I have some concerns, I will ask them directly. So I really do adopt that policy of like really trying. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it because I'm human and I've got old habits, but I really try not to gossip or talk about people behind their back, and really go off of my own experience. And if I need to address something with them, I come to them directly. And I just find that that makes a lot cleaner relationships at this point. So when we're talking about one of the places that people sometimes lose time is in these relationships that are superficial, that you don't feel like your needs are being met, that you can't love this person unconditionally, that you feel like if you don't have this relationship, somehow your reputation will be ruined. And I just have found that those things are not true. And what's happening is that this is at the cost of you spending time with the people who are most dear to you. Because what I was finding is that like my husband, specifically the man I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, I can very easily, if I'm not intentional, really take that relationship for granted, because I know he loves me. I know he supports me. I know we're both in it for the long haul. And so sometimes I feel like of all people, he's probably the one that gets the most short end of the stick, when in fact, he should be getting the best of me, the most quality time from me. So I really pay attention to that. And every day I think to myself, what can I take a moment to do for this man that is purely just to make his life easier, or just to make him feel thought of? Or how can I take some time and just spend it with him and make sure I'm saying no to other people so that I can say yes to him? Same thing with our kids. Like, if we are getting so consumed with our business building and other relationships that we worry about that aren't really fulfilling us, then the most important people to us are not getting the best of us. So literally, this sounds strange, but like, make a list of all the people that you want in your life, personally and professionally. And then think about how often, if in a perfect world, like, how often do you want to see them? And in what ways do you want to connect with them? Like, is it spending 10 minutes on the phone with them? Or is it spending a day with them? Or what does that look like to really spend quality time with these people and these relationships? And then start putting these on your calendar. Over the next several podcast episodes, I am going to be coming to you with some of the things that I have done in the past. I started with my relationships, number one, to reclaim time. And so what I have learned is that when I put the things that are most important to me on my calendar first, taking care of myself, building my relationships with the people that I am most like, that are most important to me, and spending time on what I am here for, like my business. I look at my business as what I am here for. So spending time on what I am here for. And when I make sure that a majority of my calendar is in those three categories, taking care of myself, taking care of the people I love, or being with the people I love, and taking care of my purpose in this world, and the majority of my calendar is spent like that, it is a very joyful place to live. Even if I'm doing tasks in my business that I don't particularly love or enjoy, because it's for this greater thing that fills my heart and soul, then that means I'm spending a majority of my time in a very joyful state, in a happy state. In like, even when my kids are having a hard moment and they're having some emotions that aren't the most pleasant and it's frustrating and triggering, I'm still showing up in those moments, which is fulfilling for me because that's the kind of parent I want to be. So I hope that you take this moment, this time to really think about, who do you want in your life? How can you show up for them and love them unconditionally, even on their worst days? And what's the work that you get to do to let go of why maybe you're spreading yourself too thin and why you're keeping superficial relationships or relationships that aren't really filling you up or fulfilling for you, and doing the work to move some of that off your plate, doing the work to really get down to what's the fear or the need, what's the core need you're trying to fill with a relationship that's not working for you, and not having you show up your best, because chances are other people can feel that too. So take this time, dig into that this week, putting the people on your calendar that are important to you. And what I have found is when your calendar is mostly spent in those three categories, taking care of yourself, taking care of the people you love, taking care of your calling or your purpose, your business, your passion, those things. Any time that is left, if you're like, but if I do that, then I don't have time for XYZ, then it's going to lead to you having to make some real hard choices and get really clear about what you actually want in this world. Because I've seen too many people prioritizing things that are not actually priorities. And because you're not prioritizing family, you, and your calling, your purpose, because you're not prioritizing those things, they're going by the wayside. And someday when you get to the end of this life, I want you to look back and I want you to think, I spent my time well. I created a lot of joy. I made an impact. I made a difference. And I'm surrounded by the people that I love most. And my life is full. So with that being said, I'm sending you so much love. And if Jonathan were here, of course, he would say, be well.
Thanks for listening to the Conscious Edge podcast. Make sure you subscribe and take a moment to be kind and share this episode with someone you care about. Leave a review to help us bring more compassionate leaders building businesses and creating wealth to the table. And for show notes, head over to consciousedge.com/podcast. This podcast and the linked materials are presented solely for general information, educational, and entertainment purposes and should not be taken as personal or medical advice or any kind of mental health treatment. Please consult a medical or mental health professional if you feel you need such services. Please be advised that all investing and entrepreneurial endeavors involve risk, and the use of the education and information on this podcast and linked materials is at the user's own risk.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, women's voices amplified.